The following program is brought to you by the Alameda County Public Health Department in collaboration with CARD, Collaborating Agencies Responding to Disasters. The ability to bring people together as an organized team is critical to reaching any goal. And this is as true for emergencies as it is for any other area of activity. So, the first thing you should know about the Incident Command System, or ICS, is that it's not about disasters or government agencies. It's about teamwork. It's really just a very simple and effective way to organize into a team. Each day, nonprofit organizations plan fundraisers, conduct staff meetings, organize conferences, and write grant proposals. Virtually all of the things that nonprofits do on a day-to-day basis can be better organized using the Incident Command System. You can incorporate the Incident Command System into how you think and how you do business. And if you make it part of your everyday practice, it'll be automatic in cases of emergency preparedness or disaster response. Anytime you need to organize people, you can use ICS. It's actually very easy to insert a little bit of ICS into staff meetings and make it so that the language is so familiar that that's just how we speak to each other. 8 simple functions are all you really need to know. There are command roles: Incident Commander, Safety and Security Officer, Liaison Officer, and Public Information Officer. And there are sectional roles: Operations, Planning, Logistics, and Finance Administration. You can probably guess what each role does. There's always someone in charge, that's Incident Command. Someone should always be looking out for safety, that's the Safety and Security Officer. Someone is always a go-between with other groups and agencies. That's the liaison. And someone is always responsible for talking to the public. That's the Public Information Officer. And while many people may work in each section, they all work to support that section's objectives. Someone has to take on the key responsibilities of the production itself. That's the operations section. Someone has to make a to-do list and a timeline. That's planning. Someone has to be responsible for people and stuff, and for getting the people and stuff needed to reach your goals. That's logistics. And someone has to be responsible for money and records. That's Finance Administration. Here's how easy it is.
I want you to just think about you in your own home. You're at your stove and you're cooking. You're busy preparing and everything is going fine. You're setting up. You're preparing all of your food to be cooked. But then a fire breaks out. You say, oh no, you have set your stove on fire. But you put out the fire because you have an extinguisher. You win, you've put out the fire. But you're not finished because the fire changed your plans. You were certainly not planning on serving your guests burnt food. So you're thinking, dinner is ruined. You've got to make other options and you've got to call your guests. And you've certainly got to clean up the mess before everybody gets there. Your neighbors, however, are outside. They're seeing the smoke waft out the windows. You yell out to them, it's okay, the fire is out, my bad, I'm sorry, we're all good. You call the fire department to let them know. You say the same thing, my bad, set it on fire, I've put everything out. And they may still want to come and check, just to make sure that you have extinguished everything and that there's no bigger problem awaiting them. You get the supplies you need. Some of the supplies you might need: a mop, a bucket, some gloves. Maybe you put a mask over your mouth and nose so that you're not inhaling what came out of the fire extinguisher. Somebody else might come home, so you put up a little signage saying, hey, watch out, don't slip in this. When it's all done, you figure out how much it all cost you. That was the entire Incident Command System taken on from the perspective of just being one person. When you were taking responsibility for this, you were being the incident command position. The minute you started doing anything to keep yourself safe, you were taking on the safety and security position. The minute you did that call out to somebody who was not inside your agency, that's the liaison function. That is making sure that you have someone in your agency who is communicating effectively with people who are outside of your agency. When you were sharing with the public, the minute you started yelling out the window to your concerned neighbors, that was basically a public information officer function. In every emergency, at some point, even if you're just by yourself, you need to communicate with the outside world. There are many people that are outside of your physical agency who will want to know what's going on with you, and you want to make sure the information that's going out, leaving your agency, is accurate, and you have absolutely made sure that it is the right message. There are thousands of things you could say during a crisis. You want to pick wisely. When you were putting out the fire and cleaning up, that was really being operations. In every emergency, there are going to be people who do the main event. They're basically the lead actors in getting stuff done. That is your operations team. You always need stuff, logistics. Anytime you're dealing with getting the stuff to accomplish your goals, and the stuff can be people or the physical stuff or your physical location, that is all logistics. The minute in that scenario you started thinking about, okay, dinner is ruined, I need to change my food choices, I need to call my guests, you were creating a new plan for how your evening was going to transpire, yes? That's all the planning function. And the final one is finance and admin. That was that last piece where you saw the little guy looking for the receipts, the insurance, crossing all of your T's, dotting all of those I's to make sure that you know what this event cost you. It means that you're taking good care of your financial records, and it gives them a number they could put on a check. Do you know what one of the most common answers to the question of how much did you spend is? A lot is a very popular answer. You know what another really popular answer is? I don't know. Try to write that on a check.
So to review, taking charge, even while alone, makes you the incident commander. Going to get the extinguisher makes you logistics. Using it makes you operations. Working out new dinner arrangements makes you planning, and figuring out how much it costs makes you finance. And we do all of this while remembering what's most important. First and foremost, we save and protect lives. Then, if we're still able to keep everyone safe, we can do something to protect the environment by keeping the damage from spreading. If everyone's safe and we've been able to protect the environment, we can worry about the property. But we never risk life to save property. We sometimes make the mistake of thinking that we're going to be the same person we are now when we're in an emergency. But you get that rush of adrenaline and stress kicks in, and it can change how you function. You need to do everything you can to stay calm and focused. This is how it works for one person. Now, what about a team? More often than not, emergencies will require a team response. So, in addition to the incident commander, you'll need to add teammates to handle communication and fulfill the leadership structure. The ICS is built to expand and contract like an accordion to fit any size situation. 2 people? One is incident commander, safety liaison, public information, planning and finance, and the other, logistics and operations. 3 people? 5 people. As the ICS expands, the only rule is to make sure you limit your direct span of control to only 5 to 7 people. That way, you can stay in direct contact with your team without getting overloaded. Then, no matter how much an incident expands, the incident command system allows people to understand their roles and everyone else's. Of course, that's really the point. ICS makes partnership and collaboration easy, whether between nonprofit organizations or between your organization and city, county, or state emergency responders. One role that you won't find on the average org chart, but that we suggest, is a spotter. Someone to watch your back, keep you grounded, hydrated, and at your best. Your spotter could be someone on your team who's working in a collaborative position. Or, if you can spare the manpower, it could be a dedicated assistant whose job is to help you fulfill your responsibilities. Now, hopefully, you have a good sense of how easy ICS can be. Let's test it out. We've picked an event that's already happened, that everyone should recognize: the sinking of the Titanic. Picture that you go back in time. You're on the Titanic. But this time, you know information that people didn't know then. You know that the ship is definitely going to sink. And you only have 2.5 hours until the ship goes down. You know that there aren't enough lifeboats for more than half of the people on board. And you know the basics of the incident command system. Could you do something differently to be safe? If even one person had had the incident command system on that ship and had the level of empowerment, imagine how the outcome might have changed. So if you were in charge of a team that wasn't going to be on the lifeboats, what would you do? How about building rafts? Let's make that our mission. Now, let's save as many people as we can. The operations team is doing what? Assembling rafts, launching them overboard, and getting people onto them. So if building rafts is the thing we're doing, the operations team are the ones doing the actual assembly, launching, and loading. What will they need to do that? Well, logistics is in charge of what? People and stuff. So, how about instructing logistics to collect every big flat wooden surface like doors and tables? Go door to door, get people out of their cabins to an assembly area, and pull the doors off the hinges. Maybe take some boards so that we have something to do paddling with. Would we want to try to tie the doors together so that people aren't just on individual doors? Yeah, probably. So maybe some sheets or ropes. And we're going to need to lower the rafts. Maybe once the lifeboats are launched, we could reuse the hoists. Or maybe we can't wait for them. Maybe we need to just throw the rafts overboard and jump. How would we know? Planning team, we need a timeline. We need to know that by the 2-hour mark, everybody is on the rafts. At what point do we want to make sure all the doors are off? When are we launching the rafts overboard, and how many do we actually need? Finance and administration? Keeping the costs and the records? In this scenario, do we care about costs? No. But what would we want to track as an administrative function? Right, people. It would be helpful for someone to sit there with a list and count how many people we have. What else would be a good administrative function? How about some rudimentary numbering system so that when the time comes, you can just say, okay, you 10 people are on raft number 1. Remember that half of the people were never going to get off that ship. Do you think the Titanic had enough doors to give everybody something to float on? Just take a moment to flex your brain and think about the coordination it would take to change the result. Even under the worst circumstances, a total tragedy, we could rewrite history with the incident command system so that we could use our collective skills as a team under this structure to make a difference. This is why the incident command system is the national standard, because it's proven itself to be useful for everything from event planning to emergency response. If you want to make it even easier to coordinate your organization with your city, ask them for their ICS organizational chart. The more you match and mirror your local jurisdiction, the easier life gets for you. Breakdowns occur during emergencies when adrenaline is high and you react to the unfamiliar. If you want to get brilliant at something, like disaster response, take on what we've talked about as your deliberate practice. Socialize and normalize ICS into the vocabulary of your agency. We're not talking about obscure disaster terminology. We're saying things like, hey Lydia, would you handle the logistics for the meeting? Or, can someone help put together an agenda and timeline? Just work the language into your day-to-day operations to the point where even your newest staff member can pick up the language quickly. Maybe just make one simple change. Use ICS as a meeting facilitation tool. Say you do 10 staff meetings using the incident command system. How difficult would it then be to actually do an emergency response when the language is that familiar? Well, there's an easy way to find out. Just run an emergency drill. Let's follow a shelter-in-place exercise that you can adapt to use in your own organization. There are 4 key tools we recommend you make a regular part of your exercises. Roll badges with responsibilities listed on the back, command post signage, plans, and journals. If you don't have an emergency kit already in place with these items, you'll discover instantly that you'd better get one. But this is the safest way to find out. To conduct a shelter-in-place drill, start with a very simple scenario.
The exercise I'd like us to try out today is a scenario where there's been some sort of a toxic spill. Say a tanker truck is turned over on Highway 238 over at Llewellyn. We've got 8 minutes to make ourselves safe and to check in with the other facilities.
Using a short time frame allows you to conduct the exercise in real time. Make sure that you have an egg timer and start it before you jump into action.
Okay, so I think the first thing we need to do is make sure everything's closed up and that we've protected ourselves from the spill coming our way.
Figure out what our roles are and assign roles
Okay.
and go from there. So,
Start by assigning roles. This is a time to be really honest with yourself. Everyone should play to their strengths and no false modesty, but know that every job has to get done. Next, confirm that everyone knows their mission, and then jump into action.
why don't we see what supplies we have
Okay.
on hand here?
Sure.
We have some sheets and towels, and we
Oh,
can
yeah.
use these to, make little masks for ourselves. As you mentioned, windows, doors, and also the ventilation. We're going to have to make sure we can shut that off. And since that's up high where somebody could fall, we have to make sure we do that safely.
Yes.
So I think it'd be good to get Marianne busy on the phone while we
Yeah.
do the physical stuff.
sure.
So we've got like 8 minutes to get all this done. First time. Time to put our masks on! All right.
When the timer goes off, the drill finishes, and now the most important work begins. After every exercise, you need to take a few minutes to find out what went well and what things you need to change. The Plus Delta Debrief is a great format to use. It can give you more information than the actual exercise. You can have a complete breakdown in an exercise and still end up with a major win for your agency. Truly, a fall-on-your-face, embarrassing breakdown, if you debrief it well enough, can become an incredible success. The order that you debrief is very important. Always start with what went well. This is the plus. Celebrate what went well. Make sure everyone contributes to the plus. No one gets to insert any comments about what didn't go well. Then comes the delta. Delta just means change. What's the change that you want to see in your future? This isn't about how things went horribly wrong, full of name, shame, and blame. This is about how your agency can step it up and do it better. A good Plus Delta debrief can answer many questions about your agency's preparedness. But more importantly, you'll learn just how useful the incident command system can be. It's a powerful tool for organizing any group into a team. It's the standard the whole country is using already. It can be applied to even the smallest project. And the incident command system can be adapted to suit any agency's needs. And if you incorporate it into your daily activities, you can use it as a thinking tool to help you break down and think through organizing any event, a bridge and lifeline to work in better partnership with other agencies, government, and professional emergency responders, a leadership training plan to instill universal and transferable leadership skills at all levels of the community, and as an economic development tool to build community capacity to share and leverage every asset and resource. And there's another reason, particularly if you seek government funding. Using ICS is one of the qualifications that you'll need to meet in order to get reimbursement for different government funds. The Incident Command System, if you incorporate it into how you think and how you do business, will help you with writing grants, organizing fundraisers, and virtually all of the things that nonprofits do on a day-to-day basis. It's not about the disasters, or the government, or FEMA, police, fire, or any other agency. It's about teamwork. Don't be intimidated by labels and titles. Just think back to the kitchen fire when you wore all of the hats and performed every role. And please find ways to make it part of your everyday planning, because in an emergency, ICS is the way all other agencies will be organized. The more you already use it, the safer you'll be, and the more lives you can positively affect. On behalf of CARD, Collaborating Agencies Responding to Disasters, and the Alameda County Public Health Department, thanks for joining us in reminding everyone that the Incident Command System is easy. This pod video training series is brought to you by the Alameda County Public Health Department, Office of Public Health Emergency Preparedness, in collaboration with Applied Creative Training, Inc.